were interested in democratization in Spain, and then you were interested in democratization in the Soviet Union?
Well, yes, because actually I had crossed the Berlin Wall, and I still have pictures of it.
I've never seen that picture.
Really?
No.
And this was the picture. This was the real guard, and then so you left the American, the Allies areas, and you had to cross the wall.
So the 4 different languages with the 4 different allies.
But it's unforgettable because so you took the metro, and after a few on the west side, and after a few minutes you appeared in a different planet. So it was very silent, nobody in the street, no cars, no shops, no publicity. So very different. Then I was in the Soviet Union a couple of years before it collapsed. I was Gorbachev. It was very interesting because the communist system was still there, but there was freedom of speech. So you could talk about it. And then I met a lot of academics, journalists, a lot of people went to their houses, etc. And I remember thinking how anybody could have thought that this was a real threat to the rest of the world if this is a big disaster. So the houses were cracking. In the shops they used abacus, like in the 19th century to make the counting of the money. So it couldn't work at all. It was impossible. And then I was invited to Estonia a few weeks after the independence. So I was strongly motivated to analyze those processes as well. Yeah.
And so you analyzed them in how many publications?
Well, I did this book, Strategic Transitions, Game Theory again, trying to apply more or less the model that I did for the Spanish transition into those cases, based on negotiations or interactions between rulers and the opposition. The book is also published in Spanish.
And you also wrote something about Poland.
Well, there's a chapter here which is based on an article about Poland, because there was a student who was in Warsaw, and she had access to the real documents of the negotiation of the Round Table between the Communist Party and the army and the Solidarity movement.
Wow.
And so I was using all those documents and the information, etc., in order to try to build a model, again, game theory model of the negotiations in the Round Table in Poland. There's also a chapter on the Soviet Union and so on.
And in terms of an institutional analysis?
Yeah, because you're seeing this because I did these strategies and outcomes in Eastern Europe, which is also published in French.
L'année sociologie.
And then in Spanish. Then I was eventually published in Russian, actually. I cannot read Russian, regretfully, but I can read my name here, if you can see. So he's Kolomer, right? More or less, sounds in Russian. And this, so long while. And then I began to be more interested in which institutions these new democracies establish. So why in some countries they introduce the direct election of president, in others it's more a parliamentary regime, how many parties are allowed to compete in elections, why some countries are unitary, some others have a federal structure, these kind of things. And then I moved to this subject, actually. This is the special issue of a journal that I edited, the Strategy of Institutional Change. And so this moved me to analyze almost every regime, political regime in the world, because every institution had been established at some moment, and you can understand the same kind of thing, even if the democratization had been much earlier than those cases.